Hi, I see a lot of confusion on what staking interest rates are and how they work on various DeFi platforms. I was also very confused at one point and made some incorrect assumptions before. This video won't be about the difference between APR and APY. Instead, I'll explain staking interest rates in depth, from lending to liquidity farming, how they're actually calculated, and what affects their change. Hopefully, this will help people understand more accurately what they are investing their money into. Let's get started. First, I want to make sure there's some background before explaining the details. I'll just briefly talk about the difference between APR and APY because that concept is still important when looking at the staking interest rates and determining whether or not an investment is worth it. APY, or annual percentage yield, is an interest rate on the principal that has compounding effects. APR, or annual percentage rate, is an interest rate on the principal that does not compound. For example, if I staked 100 ETH at 10% APR, after 1 year, I'll earn 10 ETH. And then after another year, I'll earn another 10 ETH. However, if I stake 100 ETH at 10% APY compounded annually, I'll earn 10 ETH after the first year and 11 ETH on the second year, since in the second year, the 10% is applied to the 110 ETH instead of 100. Okay, now that that's out of the way, let's talk about staking. Staking is a term used very loosely, but generally, it means depositing funds into an investment to earn yield as a percentage of the deposited funds. Staking can be separated into 3 categories in DeFi. I'll talk about the first 2 briefly, and then the last category more at length because that's where most of the confusion is. The first category is staking to earn a return by helping validate the blockchain. This is the technical definition of staking and what the term staking initially meant. How this works is a person locks up a proof of stake blockchain's native coin to validate and secure transactions on the blockchain. This is only available on proof of stake chains. As a reward for securing the chain, the stakers earn a yield, and the rewards are paid out in the native coin of that blockchain. Examples of these coins are Binance Coin, Terra Luna, and Avalanche. People can earn a pretty consistent and reliable return by staking in this manner. For example, right now staking on Avalanche returns about 9.7% APR. This APR might fluctuate, but it's usually pretty small changes. The second category of staking is depositing tokens to earn a yield by lending the tokens out to people that want to borrow them. For example, I'll deposit my Bitcoin to a platform and earn back 4% of Bitcoin in APR or APY. Meanwhile, as my Bitcoin is deposited here, the platform lends it out to borrowers at a potentially higher interest rate, like 6%, so that when the borrower pays the interest and the Bitcoin back, the platform and the depositor can earn yield. Examples of this type of staking exist in both centralized and decentralized finance. Platforms like Celsius, BlockFi, and Gemini are examples in centralized finance, and platforms like Venus, Aave, Anchor are examples in DeFi. In both of these previous categories, the staked funds are in a single token or coin. To stake for blockchain validation, I need the native coin of a proof of stake blockchain. To stake for lending and borrowing, I just need to stake Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever else is in demand. In the last category of staking, which is liquidity farming, I would typically need to stake or deposit 2 or more unique tokens. People that stake in liquidity pools are called liquidity providers. Providing liquidity helps other people, let's call them traders, swap tokens. For example, I want to swap Bitcoin to Ethereum. In DeFi, I would go to some platform that has a Bitcoin Ethereum liquidity pool, where a lot of liquidity providers have deposited Bitcoin and Ethereum. I would offer my Bitcoin and then receive back Ethereum using the pool. Some example platforms for liquidity farming are PancakeSwap on the Binance Smart Chain, Trader Joe on Avalanche, SpookySwap on Phantom, and Curve. Just as a heads up, I'll be using the terms farm and pool interchangeably. They mean the same thing. What is the incentive for liquidity providers though? This is where the staking APR comes in. The liquidity providers are rewarded with a return for providing liquidity and taking the risk of impermanent loss. The APR number is typically calculated with one or both of the following ways. The first is what I'm calling the liquidity pool fees APR, or LP fees APR. Whenever a trader uses the liquidity pool to swap tokens, the trader pays a small fee. The net collected fees from all the trades get passed to the platform and the liquidity providers. These fees get used in the calculation of the APR number. Different platforms call this APR different things, but it's the APR that is generated from trading fees in a specific liquidity pool. The second is what I'm calling the rewards APR, which is the return from incentives for participating in the liquidity pool. Typically, these rewards are paid out in the platform's token. For example, if I'm providing liquidity on SushiSwap, part of my APR return is paid out in sushi tokens. Similarly, different platforms call this APR different things, but it's the APR that is generated from rewards tokens for providing liquidity. Those are the two things that combine to calculate the APR number that farming platforms show in their pools. Digging deeper, I'm going to now show some simple equations on how these two APRs are calculated, so here's the math warning. For the LP Fees APR, a general formula for calculating this number is the trading volume times the trading fee percentage divided by the liquidity pool's value. This APR can be estimated by taking the 24-hour trading volume and extrapolating it to 365 days in a year. It'll be much easier to understand with an example. Let's take a look at some liquidity pools on Trader Joe on the Avalanche network. I'll just pick a random one like this USDCE AVAX pool with a total APR of 38.28%. Clicking into it, the number that I'll be calculating is the pool APR, which is 29.2%. This is the return from the swap fees collected by the pool. So the first number I'll need is the trading fee that gets paid to the pool. On Trader Joe's docs, this is specified to be 0.25%. Next, I'll need the 24-hour trading volume for the USDCE AVAX pool. I can get a rough estimate of this from nomics.com. And here it shows that the 24-hour trading volume is about $68.8 million. To calculate the numerator of that equation, I'll just multiply the trading fee with the 24-hour volume. That equals about $174,000 of daily fees returned to liquidity providers in that pool. I'll multiply this by 365 days to estimate the total fees returned to LPs for the year. This equals about $63.6 million. The last number I need is the denominator, which is the value of the liquidity in the pool. Trader Joe conveniently shows this, and it is about $215.9 million. Dividing the total annual fees by this liquidity will equal about 29.5%, which is very close to the pool APR shown here. I've verified this calculation on Curve, PancakeSwap, and Trader Joe pools. Just keep in mind that all platforms calculate this number slightly differently. For example, instead of using the 24-hour trading volume, they may use the 7-day trading volume and extrapolate to a year. Alright, the next APR to talk about is the rewards APR. This is where DeFi platforms will incentivize liquidity providers to participate in pools by paying them in the platform's token rewards. The general formula for this APR is the value of the reward tokens allocated to a pool during some time period, divided by the pool liquidity value. Then it is extrapolated to a year. This can get more complicated if the pool offers multiple tokens as rewards, but usually it's just the platform's native token. Native tokens are rewarded every block, and the amount per block that is rewarded is usually fixed. Let's go through an example. Again, every platform calculates this APR number a bit differently, but the concept behind it is generally the same. Here, I verified the rewards APR in Beethoven X liquidity pools. The rewards are paid out in their BEATS token. I'm just going to select the Phantom of the Opera pool, which is a Phantom USDC pool. First, the APR I'm looking to calculate is the BEATS reward APR. The swap fees APR is what I'm calling the LP fees APR. You can see here that the reward APR is about 38%. What's nice about Beethoven X is that it tells us how many BEATS tokens are minted and allocated to this pool per day. That number is about 39,000. So for the numerator, I'm taking the number and multiplying it by the price of the BEATS token, which is currently $1.12. Then I'm extrapolating that out to 1 year. This results in roughly $16 million of rewards over the year. Next, I just have to divide the number by this pool's liquidity value. I'll use the TVL here, which is about $37 million. After the division, I get about 43%. If you remember though, this is 5% off of the quoted rewards APR. So what am I missing here? Turns out in the docs, only 87.2% of the BEATS minted per block goes to the farms. So I multiply the 43% by 0.872 and get 37.8%, which is very close to the quoted rewards APR number. Alright, all this math helps in verifying the numbers that the platforms show, but how do I actually go about making investment decisions based on this knowledge? The APR on farms are dynamically calculated anytime something in the formula changes. So these APRs are never constant. You've probably seen them systematically decrease over time as well. I'll explain why that makes sense. Let's look at the LP fees APR equation again. To have a large APR, the pool must either have low liquidity, or the trading volume needs to be high, or the trading fee needs to be high. So when people see a high APR for a specific farm, they'll be attracted to that because it's going to give a large return. But as more and more people add liquidity to the farm, the liquidity increases, and as a result, with all else constant, will bring the APR return down. Similarly, if people have decreased demand for a specific token in a farm, the trading volume may decrease. This also reduces the LP Fees APR. What about the rewards APR? The same thing applies here, as the rewards allocated to pools are fixed per block. As more and more people pile into a specific farm, increasing liquidity, the rewards APR will go down. This can be thought of as your share of the liquidity pool decreasing, and with fixed rewards going to the pool, your rewards will also decrease. Since the value of the rewards is tied to the price of the platform token, the APR is affected by the market price of the token as well. The higher the price, the higher the APR, and the lower the price, the lower the APR. It's very important that people understand the rewards APR displayed corresponds to the current price of the token at this second. If the token is flying high now, the APR will be great, but this does not indicate that the APR will stay this way if the price of the token crashes. Also, I want to warn about ridiculously high rewards APRs in the hundreds of thousands of %. The reason to be careful with these pools is because it may be a Ponzi scheme. What happens, for example, is a shitcoin USDC pool is created by someone, and the liquidity at the start is always very low because the scammers don't want to put in too much USDC. That, combined with the fact that they can pre-mint a very small amount of tokens and make some artificial trades to inflate the price of the token, this will result in an insanely high rewards APR. This attracts unsuspecting liquidity providers due to FOMO or thinking they found a great investment. As they add liquidity to the pool, the scammers are trading their constantly minted shit tokens for USDC. This, along with the minting, tanks the price of the token and the pool's APR. When it's all said and done, the LPs are left with pretty much nothing, and the scammers have taken a bunch of USDC. So when looking at the APRs in liquidity pools, my thought process would be, if I want to own the platform's native tokens because I believe in the project, it may be advantageous to farm where the rewards APR is good. If I don't really care about the project and I'm banking on a token pair that has a lot of demand, and I don't mind holding the underlying tokens, it may be advantageous to farm where the LP Fees APR is good. What I like to do though is to use auto-compounding farms like Beefy Finance, because in their vaults, you always earn what you stake. That way I can kinda capture the high APRs even if I don't believe in the platform token, because Beefy automates the selling in the background to pay me in the underlying assets. Hopefully this video helped dispel any misconceptions on all these advertised APR numbers and gave you a better understanding of how the APRs are calculated and how they work. If it did, please let me know by commenting, liking, or subscribing. Help me get to 1,000 subscribers. As always, stay safe, and thanks for watching.